Welcome to the Rogers Centre as the countdown is on to Game 6 of the World Series. Canada's team is getting ready to face the LA Dodgers with a World Series title on the line in Toronto, where we bring you this special edition of CTV National News.
CTV National News with Heather Butts.
Hello from inside the Rogers Centre. We are field level ahead of this pivotal Game 6. The Toronto Blue Jays just one win away from claiming a World Series title, the first time in more than 30 years. And the energy inside here is electric. And I'm not just talking about the fans. We are surrounded by hundreds of media, all here to cover this pivotal event. Of course, the players, the coaches, team staff, all buzzing around here. The energy is amazing, all in anticipation of the big game tonight. We are covering this story from multiple angles. And of course, we will also bring you the rest of today's top stories. We begin, though, with our CTV's John Venevali-Rao, who is outside the ballpark this evening. John, set the scene for us. What's it like where you are?
Well, everybody wondering if the Blue Jays will get their storybook ending tonight. Very early this morning, there were fans lined up outside of the Rogers Centre. These are people with general admission tickets. They wanted to be here when the doors open so they could rush in and get the best position possible to see what they hope will be that historic World Series win tonight. How the narrative has flipped since this series began. Initially, it was the Blue Jays who were seen as the underdogs. Now the defending champions are facing elimination. And here's what some of the fans had to say ahead of this game tonight.
Oh my God, I have so much energy and I am like so pumped for the game. Got a lot of confidence too.
This is a huge moment. I wasn't even alive for the last World Series, so this is like a huge deal for me. This is like once in a lifetime. It's incredible.
I'm very excited to get in there because I think it's going to be bonkers in there. The craziest game in Toronto since, I don't know when, maybe 2019 Raptors.
I've been watching the Blue Jays since 1977. I have watched every game this season, either on TV or on my phone. This is a big game for me. Yes.
I would love to see this end at Game 6. My stress levels have been high enough. Like, we're ready for a win.
Yes, we are.
Give the body a rest.
Yes.
Get some sleep.
Yes, got some sleep.
Great to hear from those fans. John, what are we hearing from the team ahead of this game?
Well, I mean, they're up against a formidable pitcher for the Dodgers, Yamamoto, who pitched a gem of a game in Game 2. But the good news for the Blue Jays, George Springer back in the lineup, leading off the lineup. And here is what Bo Bichette had to say earlier about this game tonight.
Your whole career, everybody's telling you don't take winning for granted, but you have to learn that for yourself. And you know, there's been a lot of times where I thought we would win, and we didn't. So to be here and to learn from past seasons is special to be here. It's something I'll never take for granted.
So the champagne and beer, it is ready inside of the Rogers Centre to be popped tonight. Let's see if the Blue Jays can do it. Heather?
John, thank you. And of course, with a World Series title on the line, police are expecting massive crowds here in downtown Toronto, but they are ready for it. Here's what they had to say earlier today.
All units, all divisions are going to be engaged. There's going to be a very significant and visible police presence. And yeah, public safety is the overarching goal, but we want there to be celebration. We want to have people celebrate responsibly. So we want to remind the public, you know, to be responsible, to look out for each other. We want to remind the public about not using drones. Fireworks essentially are prohibited. Be mindful of your children, be mindful of your possessions and things like that. These are large crowds that we're expecting.
Police say that win or lose, they're prepared for any result and will be back on the streets tomorrow if needed. TSN's Jennifer Hedger joins me now. What do they need to do to win tonight?
The biggest challenge for the Toronto Blue Jays is going to be getting runs and getting hits off of Yoshi Yamamoto. Yamamoto is the Dodgers' best pitcher. He's pitched 2 complete games now back-to-back and allowed just 2 runs. So getting runs off this guy is difficult. However, if the Blue Jays have a superpower, it is getting hits when people don't expect it. They are relentless. They had that beautiful grand slam from Addison Barger in the first game of this series. They are a team that can string together base hits. If they can do that and get to Yoshi Yamamoto, that will be the key. They also have to get some good pitching themselves. And Kevin Gausman is on the hill for the Toronto Blue Jays. Gausman needs to be nails. The bullpen needs to be nails. They will have the home fans behind them in this Game 6. So the Blue Jays have to be feeling good about themselves.
And they should be. Their fans are feeling good about them as well. Jennifer, just quickly, what has it been like for you to cover this? It's been a Cinderella story for the team.
It's been a thrill. It has been the Blue Jays. I mean, I've been a fan of the Blue Jays since I was a kid. I remember the World Series in '93 that they won. But as a broadcaster, you can work your whole life and never get an assignment as good as this. So it has been an absolute thrill. And for all the generations of fans out there watching these games tonight and maybe tomorrow, this is a once-in-a-lifetime situation, and a new generation will now be able to have their World Series moment, hopefully.
TSN's Jennifer Hedger joining us here. Some great insight from Jennifer during our conversation earlier today. There is so much anticipation ahead of tonight's game. But for now, we are going to throw things back over to the CTV National Newsroom, where Marcia McMillan is standing by with the rest of today's top headlines.
Heather, thank you so much for that. So exciting. Let's hope for a big win tonight. Let's turn now to the latest on the trade talks between Canada and the United States. President Trump says they are still off, and the Prime Minister, he says, apologized to him for the anti-tariff ad. CTV's Jeremy Sharon is joining us now with more. Jeremy, what are we to make of this?
Marcia, this comes on the heels of a tumultuous week for Canada-U.S. relations, all spurred by that ad that Donald Trump says Prime Minister Mark Carney has now apologized for.
Back on U.S. soil after meeting with world leaders in Asia, U.S. President Donald Trump confirming talks with Canada aren't restarting.
What did you talk about with Prime Minister Carney? Are you and Canada going to resume negotiations?
No. Trump and Prime Minister Mark Carney spoke during a working dinner earlier this week with other world leaders in South Korea, the first encounter between the two leaders since this Ontario government anti-tariff ad prompted Trump to halt negotiations.
I have a very good relationship. I like him a lot. But you know what they did was wrong. He was very nice. He apologized for what they did with the commercial.
On Thursday, the Prime Minister's office confirmed Trump and Carney spoke during the dinner, but didn't make mention of an apology. The Office of the Minister in charge of Canada-U.S. relations declined to comment today.
Our job is to respect their choice and deal with whoever is in the White House. And so it's up and down with Canada, but we'll just have to bear through it as we make our way in getting a trade agreement, a new trade agreement with our American neighbor.
Washington has accused Canada of being difficult to deal with in negotiations. Trump's National Economic Council director telling CNN Canada hasn't been playing fair.
So President Trump won't stand for it. He's tried to negotiate with the Canadians to get better deals for Americans, and they've been, frankly, rude and dismissive. And this is how it gets to where we are.
Carney's government says it stands ready to resume negotiations whenever Washington is ready, and Canada's ambassador to the U.S. says lines of communication remain open. Marcia?
Jeremy, thank you. Prime Minister Mark Carney said Canada's relationship with China is at a turning point following his meeting with Chinese President Xi Jinping. Carney met Xi on the sidelines of the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Summit. Their talks concluded with an invitation for a state visit. CTV's Judy Trin has more.
The face-to-face hosted by China marked the first time in 8 years that a Canadian and Chinese leader met officially. Mark Carney expressed regret for lost time.
Distance is not the way to solve problems, not the way to serve our people with people-centric growth, as you have advocated. Pragmatic and constructive engagement is.
The meeting lasted 39 minutes. According to a readout from the Prime Minister's office, the leaders discussed trade issues, including agriculture, canola, seafood, and electric vehicles. There's no deal, but there's dialogue.
We now have a turning point in the relationship.
The freeze in relations began in 2018 after Canada arrested Huawei executive Meng Wanzhou at the request of the U.S. In response, China detained Michael Spavor and Michael Kovrig. Then in 2022, Xi scolded former Prime Minister Justin Trudeau in front of cameras. Analysts say recalibrating with China must be done carefully.
Mr. Carney will be able to have firm views on difficult issues related to human rights, religious freedom, and so on, while at the same time saying, let's discuss how we can work together.
We are going to have to play our own game with China based on our own interests and our own ambitions.
This was the second time Carney has met Xi. Previously, they met in 2016 when he was governor of the Bank of England. There will be a third meeting, too. Xi Jinping has invited Carney to China for a state visit. Judy Trin, CTV News, Gyeongju, South Korea.
CTV's chief political correspondent Vashi Kapelis joins us now with more from the nation's capital. Vashi, President Trump says talks with Canada are done. What are you hearing behind the scenes as to where this leaves any future trade negotiations?
Well, there remains a huge question mark over that, Marcia. I think what I'm mostly hearing behind the scenes, in particular from people in the government, is the way in which they think it might amplify or help their argument around the budget. Picture this on Tuesday, a sizable, larger than expected perhaps, deficit that we know the opposition, in particular the Conservatives, will criticize. The argument the government will put forward is this is needed in order to buttress, the assault from the U.S. And as that assault or antagonism continues, that is an argument they think will help them.
And with Carney reestablishing ties with China, does that put us offside with President Trump?
Well, two quick things on that. First of all, Marcia, I would have maybe 48 hours ago said yes, but after that, anything but antagonistic meeting between President Xi and President Trump, I don't think that's as much of a concern. Where I do think we should focus, though, is I can remember back to the last time the federal government was saying, hey, it's a turning point. Things are going to go great with China. They can go great. Well, things went downhill very, very quickly in a very punctuated way. So take all of this optimism about a trading relationship and better relationship with China with a grain of salt. Marcia?
Vashi, thank you. Affordability is one of the big issues expected to be addressed by the Carney government in next week's budget. Tonight, we're speaking to Canadians facing rising costs on what would help them the most. Here's CTV's BC Bureau Chief, Andrew Johnson, with one family's unique story.
Crack it open.
In the Higgins household, Mom and her helpers are making sourdough from scratch, trying to save.
The cost is, $4 or $5 a loaf. My kids go through so much bread. So much bread.
And the family of 5 is making tough choices at the grocery store.
Juice is becoming a luxury, something that I'm like, maybe we need to stick to milk and water for the kids.
Ahead of budget day, Caitlin Higgins' ask from Ottawa is a way to pay less.
Gas and groceries, those, they really drain our accounts.
The family is fortunate to own their own home in one of the most unaffordable regions of the country. In fact, 3 generations of the Higgins family live in multiple homes on what used to be one lot. Next door, Caitlin's brother-in-law Patrick is feeling the same pinch.
This morning I went out with my girlfriend. We went to a park and before we got a couple coffees and breakfast. It was like $30.
Patrick is pulling for the feds to forge a quick path toward economic peace with the U.S.
Find a way to smooth that out. And I'm not saying, appease everything that Trump has to say, which is not the answer.
Peekaboo. Peekaboo.
Patrick's parents tore down the rancher they raised 7 children in to build 4 smaller homes and help their kids. They want to see all levels of government help more people do the same.
The federal government could do a lot by giving tax breaks to people that redevelop their own property. We really want young people, not just our own kids, but other young people to have a chance to own a home on the ground where they can put down roots.
Thinking outside the box on housing, cheaper groceries and gas, and a smoother way forward with the U.S. The asks from the Higgins family in North Delta, BC. Go! Andrew Johnson, CTV News.
And you can watch live coverage of the budget this Tuesday at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 Pacific on CTV News Channel and ctvnews.ca. Canada's Supreme Court has ruled this morning against mandatory minimum jail sentences for people who access or possess child pornography. The court ruled that a 1-year minimum for those crimes is unconstitutional. According to the High Court, while minimum sentences act as a deterrent, they remove a judge's discretion to impose other sentences when appropriate. FBI Director Kash Patel says a potential terrorist attack planned for this Halloween weekend has been stopped before it could be carried out. Patel says multiple suspects who were allegedly plotting a violent attack in Michigan were arrested in Dearborn. Local police posted that they were aware of an FBI operation and there is no threat to the community. Mixed reaction on the streets of London today after the King's decision to strip his brother Andrew of his title of prince and force him from his Windsor home.
I think it's the right thing, but I think there's just too much publicity and noise about it.
He doesn't deserve it. He's wrong. He shouldn't have done what he did.
It should never happened until he's been proven guilty. They've gone for him. Witch hunt.
Buckingham Palace announced the King's decision yesterday, seeking to distance the royals from Andrew over his ties to the Jeffrey Epstein scandal. 65-year-old Andrew is Charles' younger brother and the late Queen's second son. That's a look at some of our top stories from the national newsroom. Up next, we'll head back to the World Series with Heather Butts in downtown Toronto.
So I thought, all knit on the days they play, and let's see how far this goes.
And she's a super fan, spinning a yarn about superstition.
Now the 2-2. Well hit down the left field line. Way back in.
Joe Carter's legendary home run from the last time the Blue Jays played in Game 6 of a World Series. Fans are hoping for another iconic moment tonight. We have been meeting fans from right across this country and all over the world during this postseason. Everyone with a unique story or connection to the team. One fan who I met earlier today will come away with her own piece of Jays gear made during the postseason. Have a look. You've heard of a playoff beard, but have you ever heard of a playoff sweater? This is truly one of a kind, and Carla Courtney is here to tell us all about it. You started knitting this right at the beginning of the postseason.
Yeah, I cast it on during Game 4 versus the Yankees. So I had a good feeling. I felt like I think this is going to go further, and I want something that's going to take me further. So I thought, all knit on the days they play, and let's see how far this goes.
And speaking of how far it goes, the sweater wasn't cast here in Canada, it was cast in the UK.
Yeah, I put it on my needles in Brighton, that's where I live. I did grow up here, and I think that's what's so special about this. Being away from home for so long, it made me feel really nostalgic and excited to come back and be a part of it.
And tell us a little more about the sweater. You've gathered a following. You've been knitting it at the games. You went to at least one of the games at the Rogers Centre, and then you've been going to a lot of watch parties as well.
I've been to every watch party, including the 18 innings when I ran out of yarn. And I was at Game 6 and 7 ALCS, and then Game 2 World Series.
What's it been like to be knitting this entire time and have people checking in on the sweater?
I mean, I've been knitting and watching Jays since I was a kid. So my dad's from Newfoundland, and I grew up knitting with my grandma there. And so that was just a ritual for me. So it's really just what I do.
And you've met some people along the way, including John Schneider.
Yeah, that was a complete coincidence. I ran into him right there and just ran up to him and said something quickly and then asked him to kiss the sweater. And he just kind of knew the assignment. Some people think it's strange, but he was like, yeah, is it lucky?
Carla, it is lucky to have him kiss it, I think. It's a beautiful sweater, but I just want to show that it already has a little wear and tear on it, but this is memories right here.
Yeah, the top is a mustard stain from Game 6, ballpark baptism, as they say. And then this is Barger's Grand Slam in Nathan Phillips Square, dropping it.
A Barger Grand Slam stain, nothing better. Carla, I can't wait to see how the sweater completes itself. It's going to look beautiful.
Knitting for the win tonight.
Knitting for the win. Now to a lighthearted moment for the Dodgers as they practiced yesterday ahead of tonight's game. Yes, the Dodgers, Dave Roberts was quite the runner back in his day, but when he challenged the players this go-round, well, didn't go in his favor. They had a good laugh for it. And those Dodgers now on this field behind me warming up. Coming up after the break, parents tried to pitch a perfect game. It's a double play right now, right across the country. Parents trying to figure out the Jays game and trick-or-treating. CTV's Kathy Lee joins us now, where that challenge is especially true in the West, Kathy.
Heather, it's a bit trickier for people in the prairies because of the timing of everything. Usually prime trick-or-treating is between 6 to 8 p.m., which happens right when the game is on. For diehard fans, there will have to be some kind of balancing act so that the kiddos can still go out and get candy and parents can catch all, if not most, of the game. I spoke to a Calgary man who was able to watch Game 4 and 5 in Los Angeles with his 9-year-old son. In fact, his son Elijah went viral on social media for his emotional reaction at a Calgary Flames game when the Blue Jays advanced to the World Series. He says they're going to try to head out an hour or two before the game to trick-or-treat.
I think we're going to try to start early, but it's tough because most people aren't home from work, so your candy haul isn't as good if you start early. We'll see what we do. We'll get out a little bit early and we'll go from there.
But that's not all. Once they return home and start giving out candy, Jared says he and his neighbors have a plan so they don't miss the game.
Halloween, we always have the same kind of core group get together with our fire pits and stuff in the front yard for trick-or-treating in the driveways and stuff. But we got one of our neighbors is going to project the Jays game onto his garage door, and then a couple neighbors are putting the games on in their garage. I'll have it on in my garage as well, so anybody coming by can keep an eye on the game while they're trick-or-treating as well.
A bit of multitasking going on tonight, though Jared says he'll probably have his eyes on the TV more than the candy. Heather.
A challenging time for parents, Kathy, thank you, but certainly a very fun time. The anticipation is high here at the Rogers Centre, field level, ahead of this Game 6. That does it for us on CTV National News. Thank you so much for joining us.